Okay, we're going to make cinnamon rolls. And this is a recipe that was given to my mother by my grandmother. And my mother, in turn, has given it to me. The first thing you do is you get an apron as to not mess up the front of your shirt. It's a very simple process to make sure that you have everything out that you need to have out. And you want to work in a very warm atmosphere. Everything you put into this has to be at room temperature, or you want it to be very close to room temperature. So you want the room to be nice and warm, and at no time do you want the bread to ever get cool. So the first thing we're going to do is turn the oven on, bake, and we're going to get it set it at 200 degrees to warm up this area here, so when we put this thing together. Now when we put the bread together, it takes about a half an hour. And the first thing that we do, we add 3 dry ingredients. And the first thing, it would be the salt. And you need 1½ teaspoons of salt. Almost a 1. And I think that's a half. That's a half. That's the first ingredient you put in. And when you make bread, you have to make sure that you clean as you go. And you have everything you need out in order to get the job done the way you want to get it done. Now the other ingredient you have to have is Crisco, and the other ingredient is sugar. And as you can see, I don't have any sugar out. And nor did my helper put out the 3/4 cup of sugar measurement that I needed. But I'll do that. So you need 3/4 of a cup of sugar, along with the salt. That's good. And you need half a stick or 1 cup of Crisco. You just get it in bars like this, and there's a measurement on the side of this. And you just cut this in half. And it's right here. So we'll cut that in half. And we put this in. And before you start making bread, make sure that your hands are clean, because you're going to have to get your hands in the dough. And when you make bread, it's always nice to have a helper that will clean things as you go for you, so that it makes the process a little bit easier. And what the helper does is clean things and keep them ready and grease the pans and that type of thing. Okay, so now we have Crisco, our sugar, and our salt. And we want to get warm water. We're going to end up with 2 cups of water. Half a cup is going to go into the yeast mixture, so the yeast to rise. You use 2 packages of yeast. In half a cup of warm water. And that's what I'm using the scissors for. I shake this down. Cut the top of this off. Put the dry ingredients in a cup. Shake it down again. And put 2 packages in a cup. Get 2 cups of warm water. When you measure the water, it's very easy to put too much water into this. So you always set it on a level surface and measure out the water into 2 cups. You don't have quite enough. The one thing you absolutely don't want to do is put too much water into this. Then you measure into half a cup, roughly. It's pretty close right there, being half a cup. I leave that out there for warm water. And in order to help the yeast rise, what I do is put a little teaspoon of sugar in it. and that'll make it rise faster, so you know you have active ingredients. You stir it up, and with your spoon, you just wash it out and keep it nice and clean. It's easier to clean something the minute you finish using it, rather than to wait for it to get hard. Here's a spoon. Now what we're going to do is mix the dry ingredients, the Crisco, the sugar, and the salt. And we're just going to stir that around until it's all mixed up, and we've mixed all the, have it all combined in the shortening or the Crisco. This process takes about a half an hour to do. And recently I've made a lot of bread because of the holidays, so I'm getting fairly good at knowing what steps to take and I have to stop and think about it. So what I'm doing now is just mixing this up, making sure you've got it all combined. And I use the back of the spoon mostly for that, just to make sure I've got all the sugar incorporated. The other ingredients that we're going to put into this will be 2 eggs, which incidentally I've laid out here so that there'll be a room temperature before we put them in. And then the other thing will be the 2 cups of water, which is warm water, half a cup in the that we put in there for the yeast. So this looks good. Now, the next thing we're going to put into here are 2 eggs. Now we're going to mix this up, and this will help really get it to a point where we want it. Where's the helper going? We started here about 5 after 9. So we're going to look at, hopefully by 9:30 I'll have this put together. Okay, the eggs have been mixed up in the first ingredients, one with the sugar and salt. The thing you don't want to do is let the spoon fall in the mixture in case it gets out of your hand. Now we're going to add the yeast and clean it at the same time. So much easier to clean as you go. It's unbelievable when you just don't clean and all it gets hard and sticky. This is the other part of the water. Now we're going to stir this and incorporate this ingredient. Now, what I haven't been doing in the past, except for the last 1 or 2 times I've made bread, is to put food coloring in the dough. The perfect time to add food coloring is at this process, where we've added the eggs and the water, and sugar and the salt, and the Crisco. Now, at this point, it's a liquid source. We're going to take this off. This is just a simple food coloring. We're going to put 3 drops into here. You don't need to put much in here to give it a nice rich color. Now we'll stir that around a little bit. Now, the first thing you do after this is mixed up, you can set this aside. Usually you're going to use that later. Now what we're going to do is add 2 cups of flour to this mixture. Here's 1 and 2. And what we want to do is get this to a real smooth consistency. So we set our timer for 2 minutes. And we're going to mix this for 2 minutes. And the idea is to get it nice and smooth. When you're done mixing, you lift the blades out of it just a little bit. Take this off. We don't need this anymore. Mixer. That goes to the helper along with these for her to wash. And the helper will come right over and wash these as we speak. She'll come right over. Good idea now to take your watch off if you have a watch on. Now the idea of this is I spilled a little bit of the egg. You want to clean that up. That went directly into the center of the trash can from here. Now we're going to just circle the sides of this and get everything that was on the side that wasn't mixed up in here. And it's just nice circular motion. It's pretty much like a liquid. You probably can't see this. But that's how we do it. Now, then we have 2 cups of flour in here. We just keep track of the flour. This is cup number 3, and we sprinkle this across the top evenly as we can. You go back in here and get another cup, which would be cup number 4, ready to go. We end the timer and set it for 10 minutes. Don't start it yet until you're ready to mix it. Now, you just go around the edges of this as you incorporate this flour that we just sprinkled on top. And as you go, you sort of flip over the shortening the mixture over top, and somehow it has just incorporates it very nicely. I wonder if we can get a shot of this, Peg. I guess not. This action. Maybe you can get the camera over here and just show how that action is. Can you see in there? That's a yes or no answer.
You try not to talk.
Well, talk. Can you see in there?
Yeah.
This is just like a television show here. See how I'm incorporating this flour? Now I've got 3 in there, but I'm just going around the edges, nice and easy, not hard to do. Now I'm going to get in the center and make sure I've got it in there, and now around the edges again. So now this is what it looks like after 3 cups of sugar. Now we're going to sprinkle another cup inside. Here it is. This is cup number 4. We're going to flour, and then I'm going to get 5 ready to go. And now it's the same action. We're just going to go around in a circle on this. Doesn't that look beautiful? Mm-hmm. And the color is nice yellow color, rich bread-looking color.
Yep.
Looks beautiful, doesn't it?
Beautiful.
It's good. It'll taste real good. Now I just want you to know this is a recipe that I've been doing for quite some time. See how that's going in there and how I'm just flipping that over the top, and it just slowly incorporates all that mixture. Then I get to start doing this, get it incorporated, then around the edges again. That's the best way to incorporate this flour. Now, that's 4. Now this is our 5th, and we do the same thing with the 5th. And now we're going to, this is, recipe calls for 6 cups of flour. We won't use the whole 6, but here's the 6th cup there. And I'll put this away. At this point, we start incorporating the flour. We start wanting to see if we can get all this stuff off the bottom of the pan. So we're going to keep mixing it and get that flour down in here, because we want it to come out of the pan, and we're going to start kneading the flour. And by that I mean we're going to put air into the flour.
Air into the flour?
Air into the mixture, into the dough. Okay? See how that's starting to look now? It's coming right off the bottom, right? So, this is very sticky stuff here. We're going to pick up as much as we can here. But it's pretty sticky stuff. So, we're working on a pretty flat surface, pretty smooth. So we're going to put some flour down, because this is going to stick it to the countertop if we don't. Now it just falls right out of the pan. At this point is when we give this pan to be cleaned. by your helper, because it has to be cleaned and greased to prepare to go this to go back in. Helper, your spoon gets cleaned off. At this point, you don't want to be worried about getting a little stickiness on your hands. And all we're going to do now, we're going to start our timer. We're going to do this about 10 minutes. Put a little flour on top. And we're going to start incorporating this dough. It's going to get all over your thumb, but we're just going to continue to do this. It's called kneading the dough. You lift it up with your fingers in front, and I'm just going to get this together a little bit. And if you don't keep flour down on here, it's going to stick to the countertop and it's going to be a mess. And you just keep bringing the flour in. Most of the time it will start sticking, and you start doing this, kneading the dough. It'll actually pick that up right off the countertop. I'm lifting it up with my fingertips and then pushing it in with the heel of my hand. And keeping flour on the surface here. This is the process called kneading. And you have to constantly keep flour down. Now here you'll get some flour and some dough, sort of mixed up in like clumps. So I take those clumps and just stick them right in the center of the dough, and then put more flour down. Now it's starting to feel good. It's a process of you have to really keep flour on the table. You're lifting up the edges and just pumping air into it. It looks like we have about not even 5½ cups of flour yet. A lot of times it's temperature outside and the humidity in the air will determine how much flour you end up really using on this. And obviously the amount of water that you put in the dough originally. And now all we're doing is just putting air into this dough and turning it, lifting the edges, and putting air into it. You get pretty familiar with how to do that. The minute it starts sticking, you put more flour down. I'll move this cup out of the way so you can see how the process. Lift it up the edges, put the dough down, edges, flip it, and then just incorporate air into this. Lift it with your hands, and then put your heels on it to put air into this mixture, air into the dough. Don't forget to keep flour on the table. Now the dough is starting to feel pretty good. It's not as sticky on my hands, and it's starting to pick up some of the stuck-on dough that I had on the table, but not. You have to be real careful. You don't do too much to where you really start sticking on the table. You just end up with a glob. Just keep working the dough. Now I'm all out, picked up all that flour. We'll come back and do it again. Again, it's just the same principle, just adding air to this dough. This is starting to feel real good. Starting to feel real good, not too sticky at all in my hands. You're going to get an idea of how this looks when we do this. Flip around the edges and seal it. Starting to feel real good. And as you run out of flour, it'll get sticky again. It's starting to get just a little sticky. Put a little bit more flour down. It just picks it up. You just keep working the dough. We started this is a process about 10 minutes. It could be 8 minutes, it could be 7, it could be 10, but you can sort of get a feel of a good dough after you get going with it. It's workable, it's soft. You put less and less flour down all the time. what we're doing is just, I'll give you the process here. Flip it over with your fingers and then roll it in. Flip it, roll it, turn it, flip it, and then roll, seal it off. Just putting air into the dough. I've only been doing this for about 5 minutes, and it's working out pretty good here. You can tell after a little bit of time with this that you really get a feel for what it should feel like after it's about ready to let rise. But right here, this is just a process, and you get more comfortable with this process as time goes on. And I've done quite a lot of them, so it looks like it's pretty easy, but you might find that it's a little harder to figure out how to roll it. You just have to get a feel for it. Yeah, this is starting to feel real good. And you can tell when it's about done, it's not sticking too much to the table, and you can just keep rolling with it, and it's not sticking. That's a little bit too sticky yet. A little bit more flour. Now the bowl was cleaned and washed, and then shortening was put on it. Now this is gonna, yeah, this is about done. You want to get this in a nice ball. Yeah, this is pretty good here. In this case, it's 332 left, and that's ready to go. Now it's a nice ball like this. You take this along to the pan, and you turn it around in the pan so it doesn't dry out on top. Put the pan in a warm spot. You put this in the center. This is 2 hours before this will be ready to do any work on again. You got to cover the top. And I've been using lately a pizza pan. It works great. This goes right over the top of this bowl, and then I cover that with a clean cloth. And what we're trying to do here is just keep it nice and warm. So it is now, took 25 minutes to put the dough together. So we're all done for 2 hours. After 2 hours we'll come back and we'll look at how to do this. In the meantime, we'll clean up our table and get prepared for step number 2. Are we recording?
Yes, we're recording, we're recording.
It's 11:30, and now we're going to open this up, and it's doubled in size. Can you see that?
Let me zoom in on that.
Just pick it up, it's doubled in size. It really looks nice. The dough is warm, and it's double, it's perfect.
Wow, that's a nice,
Yeah, it's perfect, it's perfect.
nice doubling
Okay.
there.
Yeah, it's doubled in size. Now you punch it down, and that's what you do. Now, what you're normally supposed to do is to turn this over, the dough over, I should say. And you're supposed to let that rise now for another half hour before you roll it out. But because it's 11:30, I've decided that I'll just go ahead and roll this off now. So you do this, you divide this dough in half.
If you want to wait till a half hour, I can. Unless you don't want to.
No, it's getting late, or we would, but I'm going to cover it back. Now, over here you'll see this is still part of the 6 cups of flour that I was using. And when you get ready to roll this out, what's important is as you adjust the slope, you want the loaf, you adjust it in your hand so it comes out to a natural rectangle. You can maneuver it and just get a feel for it. But you want this to end up to be a rectangle. So you lay it down, you want to shape this because it's the final finish shape of this you want also to be in a rectangle.
I wonder if the exposure of this is too bright.
Okay. Now what we're going to do is roll this out with just a little bit of flour on top, not much.
Do we need that light on? If we do, it's okay, but it just looks through here like everything's real bright.
Is there anything I can do now?
Oh, that's fine.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Are you sure?
Uh-huh.
When you roll the dough out, you can only roll this in two directions. Either exactly like this, or up and down. Because when you shrink it back down, you don't want it to shrink in more than two different directions. It'll end up as a funny heart-shaped loaf.
I'm gonna try putting this down on this thing again.
Okay.
See how that works.
Oops. Okay, now, it's rolled out pretty thin. Now you're going to shrink this down, and because it didn't have quite enough flour on the bottom of this, didn't shake down exactly. I still want to shape this finely into what is pretty close to a rectangular shape. So when I roll it up, it's going to roll fairly even. Now, this butter isn't quite soft enough. So we'll put it in the microwave for, I don't know,
10 seconds.
okay, that was the timer. So we exit that. Okay. Wonder how you work this.
Cook time.
Where is it? That up here, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Cook time. 10. As you can see, I'm not all that familiar with the microwave. That should be good. Oh yeah, that was good. 10 seconds. Remember that.
Okay.
That was really just probably a little bit too long. Okay,
Sorry about
this
that.
is a spatula. And we're going to take half a pound of butter.
Plopped right
Anyway,
on.
we're going to roll this out. That's the first ingredient, 1/2 pound of butter. And I use an offset spatula so that it's just very easy to spread out. So this will end up, look at the shape of the loaf and what the final look of the loaf should be looking like.
Nice shape.
Yeah, it's rectangular. Now, the next ingredient is sugar. I just take a sugar bowl and just sprinkle the sugar on fairly generously. These are called sweet rolls, so we might as well make them sweet. Okay. Now, next ingredient, cinnamon. We have a box of cinnamon. I guess it'll last us for about 15 more years. But we'd sprinkle that on. This is not hard to do. It's just,
Gotta know how to do it.
yeah, it's not hard. Now, after this is done, what the purpose of this is to roll a tight loaf. So we pull and turn. You gotta get this corner up and pull it and turn it. When you roll it out, sometimes it sticks to the table. So as this gets rolled, you want to make sure it's as tight as possible. Because we want a nice tight loaf. Get all the turn in it we can possibly get. And after it gets going, then you can roll this up.
Is this gonna be the ring or the little breads?
I was thinking we might as well make the bread first. Now, what we do is we turn this over, and we turn it over, we make sure the open line here where it meets is going in a straight direction. We want to try to make this as even all the way across as we possibly can. But you pull it up and squeeze the ends together so it sticks together. See what I'm doing on this? Pulling this up and then sticking it. Now what I do is just roll this back over, get a feel for it, and now I'm going to try to straighten this out and adjust it so it's just about the same length of the roll's thickness all the way down. Okay? Now out of this roll you can make cinnamon rolls, in which case you just slice them off here and put them in tins, or you can make a ring, in which case you just wrap it around and do the end together and fix it that way, or you could put it in four little miniature baking pans. But what I want to do is make 4 of those. So when we do that, we look at the length of this pan and adjust it for the inside, and we can see there's one right there. And I have a knife that I use for this. It is with a sort of a serrated edge.
It's grandmother's knife, isn't it?
Yeah, she said it a lot now. So we want to do this. Instead of measuring it every time, we just put this one next to this one.
I have to start calling you Emerald, Dad.
And then do this one. And this one we've got, might be a little bit short, so we're just going to cut it all in the middle. Now, here, the secret of this is just simply pinching the ends together on this loaf. We just make a nice little loaf out of it, shape it. This is so the air can rise. And we just put it right into this cute little pan. Kind of neat, huh?
Cute.
That's one done. Actually, this is probably the easiest of all to do for preparing dough. Get it to length, put it in, and there's 2. Boy, that's easy.
How would you have done this if it was the half of the dough, like you wanted to make a regular loaf of bread?
Well, what I would have done was take the whole roll, just a regular loaf,
Yeah.
you wrap it around,
So like you're making a ring?
and bring it together. You pinch the top and the bottom together.
Oh, right.
That's 3. Boy, that's easy. Talk about easy. I want you to notice the end of the roll, how that looks.
Perfect.
So that's how you rolling it tight is kind of important. And then here, this one is toward the end of the roll, that's already squeezed. All we're doing is pulling this down and squeezing this together. Just to make it a nice, we shape that a little bit. Now this has to rise for 45 minutes in a warm location.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
And then so we put them over here. They're kind of neat. You bake these off 25 minutes. 25 minutes at 350, and then you take them out, turn them over, and bake them for 5 more on the other side. And that makes sure that they all get done.
You actually take it out of the pan?
Take it out of the pan, turn it over, and bake it for 5 more minutes.
Oh.
Okay, so we're just going to drop this up on top. Now we got the other half, and this one we're going to make a regular ring out of. This is about right. Now you see how it comes out? So you want to just try to shape this and see which way it's going. You sort of want to go with the natural flow of it. Again, we want to put flour down so that we can won't stick to the top. And then when you get it down on the table, you still shape it. You don't want to start shaping it. And you adjust it to where, before you start rolling it out, it's got a pretty good shape already, naturally. See that?
Mm-hmm.
It's not perfect, but it's a pretty good shape. Got that?
Yeah.
Okay. A little flour on top. Now 2 directions, you roll this in. And you don't have to start putting a lot of pressure on this. But when you roll this, you roll it out, starting rolling in the middle, and then roll to the outer edges.
So how thin should it be when it's completed?
if it looks like it's getting a little out of shape, you can adjust it in the middle of your roll.
How thick should the
I
dough
would
be?
say that, it's sort of up to you. You want to get as many turns in it as you can, but I'd say 1/8 of an inch would be a good measurement. A lot of times they did this, and I guess the recipe, what they did, what my mother did, was she did this by hand. She just punched it, pulled it out by hand. Never rolled it.
Hmm.
So, see how that's shrinking down to size? This end over here is a little thick. So, but you can see the air as it gets underneath this. So what you want to do is, again, we get this in a rectangular shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get it fairly consistent. In thickness and in shape, you want it to be rectangular when you're ready to do this. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Again, now it's a process, same thing. This is just a little bit thick on this side over here. See that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's, rather than we're trying to roll the whole thing out again, I just do that with my hands. Okay, now, same thing. Remainder of the other in the butter. This butter is nice and soft. Makes it real easy to butter soft, and you can just roll this out. This offset makes it real nice and easy to smooth it out. Really nice. Okay. Now this is one batch. You can do this double batch, and it works out just as fine. We've been working, it takes about 15 minutes to look it up. The other thing I did forget to do is cover that. Very important that you keep this covered and warm. Okay. Now, we've got sugar we've got to put on, so here comes the sugar.
Nice generous amount of sugar.
Yeah, it really is. That's why it's called sweet ones. Okay. And then cinnamon. And then back to the same process, we're going to roll and pull. Start it, roll and pull. We're going to get it all started. I just flip it with my thumb to get it off the table. Actually, if you had a baker's cloth that you could put underneath there, it wouldn't stick as much.
What's a baker's cloth?
It's just a cloth that you can roll dough out on.
A nice looking roll you got there.
Now this appears to be just a little bit thinner than the last roll. I mean, it's the same amount of ingredients. And again, we line up our edges, and we pull it over. And you want to pinch this together where there isn't any sugar or toppings. See how I'm pulling that over?
Yeah.
And we want to straighten this out as best we can here. So we hold that one side and just pinch it together. That way it'll stick. We get to the end. This looks like some of the material stopped over. That's okay. Now, we have to grease that one pan that we're going to put this in, because now we're going to make a ring.
How can I grease it while I'm recording?
You set the recorder down. Oh, never mind, I'll do it. It doesn't take very time to hear it. I just wanted to say it's always good to have a helper. Huh. This is a pizza tin. It's okay. Now, The secret of this, when you put this into the pan, is what you want to watch out for is the inside, what you can adjust is the inside diameter. You look at the circle inside to make it round on the outside.
Oh,
So now, here again, we're looking at these two ends. You lift that up a little bit, but what we want to do now is pinch these ends together to form a circle. And you can adjust this so you can see some places coming apart. You can see how the inside circle is so important. When you do, if you do the inside circle all right, when this proofs up, then the outside circle will be just fine. See, that's pinched together, and that looks like a fairly decent sized loaf, and it's pretty round. Now, what you do now is where you, I can't even see where I cut it.
wow.
It's amazing, isn't it? This is kind of a nice story right there. It looks like that's where I put it together. So that's where you start on either side of that cut, because you don't want to reopen that opening again. When you go, every inch and a half or so, all the way around this dough, cutting straight in. Straight in. Now, you start, when you turn this, pick this up on the inside and turn this like this. And you do that all the way around. Pick it up and turn. Pick it up and turn. And after a while, this is a pretty easy thing to do as well. Pick it up and turn. The whole time you're doing this, be aware of the inside circle. Because if the inside circle starts getting messed up, then you're going to have a funny shaped ring. See how that is? It's fairly nice. Now, we're going to look for another covering for that. That's going to raise for 45 minutes. We'll just cover this up. And this is fine. This is just in a warm spot. You don't want to ever have the dough get a chill. And we're just going to keep this covered for, let's see, it's 10, say 10 minutes and 10. Okay, we started at 9:30, so it only took 20 minutes to put this together. So we started out, took us a half hour to mix it up, and then it waited 2 hours, and then it only took 20 minutes to put this together. Now it's just a matter of waiting 45 minutes and then preheating the oven and start baking this stuff on. That's it. Thank you very much. Very good. Okay, now we're ready to bake the ring off. It's always good to have a helper. We'll come in, we'll clean up the dirty bowls, we'll clean up the countertop, put things away for you. It's always good to have that. It's always good to clean up after you've done your messes. Now what I'm doing right now is letting the oven preheat. We're going to bake the ring. This is what it's going to look like after it's proofed. Okay. That bakes for 25 minutes at 350 degrees. The loaves, and I'm going to bake the loaves off secondly because they're rising up kind of nice, aren't they? See how nice they rose up?
Yeah, it's hard to see on here, but yeah.
Well, there you have it. So on this,
It's even
the
harder when you
light goes
cover 'em
open.
up.
Yeah. You always want to keep it warm. You don't want to give them a chill.
Right.
So what happens, this will bake off 25 minutes. We'll put it on a timer. This will bake off at 350 degrees. The other one stays at 350, but it'll be 25 minutes, and then you take them out of the container, turn them over, and bake them for another 5. Those are little teeny little loaves. Kind of neat to do that. I haven't tried that for a long time. But as we go on, we like to keep you always keep the station clean. Put things away, put the rolling pin back and that kind of stuff. Just keep on top of it, and then your cleanup isn't so bad after a while. And the other thing I could say is this is flour. We have about 1/4 of a cup of flour. It took about 6 cups. a little bit less than 6 cups. We put this back in. Now it's just a matter of getting this cleaned up, and we're done. There's always a little thing on the floor. See the white stuff? That's flour. Always remember to clean that up as we go.
Yeah.
And there you have it.
So how long do we have to wait for this oven to preheat?
You can turn it off.
Okay.
We can turn it off, then we're ready to stick it in. I mean, it's not all that exciting.
To watch it go in the oven.
No, it's...
We'll tape it when it comes out of the oven.
Yeah, that's an idea. When it comes out of the oven, we'll tape it in. Then it gets all beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay, bye.
Is it on?
Yep.
Okay. 2, 1, 0. Now, this is ended. It's been in for 25 minutes.
Wow, look at that.
And there's your finished product.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
Neat, huh? Well, I'm going to be careful about this just a little bit. I'm going to close this up just for a second. Take a look at the proofed up.
Oh, look at them.
Aren't they nice?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've never done this before.
Let's turn off that above light so we can see them. Ah, there they are.
Okay, now, I'm going to put, I didn't have a brush,
Uh-huh.
but I'm going to put a little egg wash on these, just to see,
What happens?
this is 1 egg and 1 tablespoon of
Sugar?
no, just water.
Oh, thought it had sugar in it in the
Just to beat, I beat the egg and
cookbook.
then put a, yeah, it did get out of a cookbook. I just, you know, they come out sort of not real shiny.
Right.
I just wanted to see this one time. Yeah, I'm just experimenting. And you should be putting it on with a brush, I suppose. But I just thought I'd try this as an experiment.
So those are going in the oven.
Yep, these are ready to go in the oven right now. I just did that as an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Now these are their own containers, and that's good. So I'm going to put these in now for the same length of time. 1. I hope that doesn't mess them up too much. Like I said, I've never tried that before. But that's what this stuff's all about. Anyway, try.
Experiment.
You try to improve all the time. Then, you know, just make it look more attractive or whatever. Okay, now this is going to cool, and it's going to have to cool before. It's not a, I wouldn't say a perfect ring, but it's, it'll probably be pretty edible.
Right.
It's not a perfect ring, but
But it's a nice looking one though.
It'll hope it tastes good. That's the important thing. Okay, that's it.